Hello, Planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730. I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations, as always. You've made your way to the Buffington Post.
You are invited!
Today's video is an exercise in futility. It doesn't mean anything, it's not going to change anything, but it's kind of wishful thinking on my part. Now, hindsight is 2020, and we've all got our problems with Season 4. I asked you guys on Twitter what what you thought was the worst part of Season 4, and I got answers ranging from Veruca and Forrest to Buffy's hair, but a few of you did touch on Riley and Adam, and basically the initiative, which is kind of the underlying problem with Buffy Season 4, just because it doesn't really work in the way that I feel like it really could. And so today, I'm basically going to try and fix Riley, who people have a lot of problems with, and the way that I'm going to do that is, basically I'm going to turn him into Adam.
Is it difficult or time-consuming?
And so, without further ado, let's jump into fixing Riley and maybe saving Season 4 in our alternate universe of headcanon. Here we go.
Okay, that story makes a lot more sense now.
A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man. Better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
So first of all, I don't hate Riley. I like Riley, especially like where we leave Riley in Season 6. I think I really never had a huge problem with Riley. He's just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like I said in Ken's top 5 videos about Riley and Something Blue. Like, he just happened to be at Sunnydale, and maybe he ought not to have been. And the thing is, people have a lot of problems with Riley. They don't like him, they think he's misogynistic, or what the heck ever, and I just don't have that big of a problem with Riley. But the problem with Riley is that he's in the initiative, and the initiative just doesn't work for Season 4. And so, like I said, we're going to turn Riley into Adam, to some extent. So basically, what I want to do is take what Riley lacks, which is kind of the struggle of Season 4 that everybody else is dealing with. Everybody else is dealing with identity issues. You've got Oz, and like, is he the wolf? Isn't he the wolf? You've got Willow. Am I gay? What does my use of magic mean for my personal identity? How do I identify? You've got Xander, he's not in college, he doesn't necessarily contribute to Buffy's slayerdom very much throughout the season. You've got Giles, who's not a watcher, he's not a librarian, he kinda doesn't belong. Where is he? And of course you've got Buffy, who is, how much of this underlying slayerness is my identity? Am I the Slayer? Am I Buffy? Am I somewhere in the middle? Like, all throughout the season we have the id and the ego and the superego being explored through these various characters. We even have Anya, I'm not a vengeance demon, but I spent so much of my life being a vengeance demon. How do I identify? And that's all great stuff, but we don't really have that with Riley. I mean, we kind of do. It's kind of superficial, like, oh, am I a soldier or am I a man? Let's get rid of that shit. And so the place where we start is with Maggie Walsh. We cannot kill Maggie Walsh in the Iron Team. We just can't. It doesn't make sense. We can't kill her that early. She needs to be a looming presence throughout the season until Riley kills her, okay? So yeah, we have to keep Maggie Walsh around longer, and we have to do something completely different with Riley, which is basically slowly turn him into an Adam. Now, we can still keep Adam. We don't have to get rid of Adam, but we need Riley to be dealing with the same kinds of things that Buffy is dealing with in order for us to be able to pair them, to make them actually work, because as much as I like Riley, they don't work, and that's fine, but they could work. And so in the Iron team, we know that Maggie Walsh has the ability to manufacture the situation that she thinks is going to kill Buffy. I mean, spoiler alert, you don't know much about the Slayer, like Buffy tells her. But rather than have Riley find out about this right then and there, Maggie Walsh needs to manufacture this scenario in which Riley gets hurt, in which Riley maybe loses an arm. And then, by having Buffy elsewhere, she cannot contest what Professor Walsh would do. Because the thing is, like, Professor Walsh, she's creating this Frankenstein monster, but she's creating it from a dead body. And if you have Adam in the background and she's already working on a dead body, you know, sprinkle that in a little bit before we get to the Iron team. So do that, and have her need to experiment on a living specimen. And by doing that, you could have her put the Polgara arm onto Riley, or even just the bone skewer that comes out of it. You know, he could appear to be a normal man, but have this demon thing within him, which would make Riley an interesting parallel to Buffy, because of course she looks like a normal woman, but she does have this demon thing in her. And so right there, we can do a lot of interesting stuff. We can have Riley struggling with, you know, how much of me is demon and how much of that is affecting my reality. How much of the physicality of having the demon in him is going to affect his essence. Does he have demon essence in him, or is it just physical? And so by doing that, you not only get to explore Riley internally, but you can have him and Buffy and their intimacy really start to make Buffy question not only Riley, but herself. If you can have Buffy and Riley lying in bed together, and he does have this legitimately, like, demon arm that is touching her and caressing her and making love to her, then that's going to bring about this ick factor, and it's going to make her question Riley and his nature, but then she can't do that without turning around and questioning her own. And that's what we need in Season 4. We need for Riley to have something legitimate. The whole withdrawal and his grief over Maggie, over losing her, A, and also losing this idea of her, B, that's all well and good, but we need something concrete. We need something to be going on within him. And so if we have, throughout the season, Riley slowly being turned into a living version of what Adam is, since basically Adam is a dead thing, okay? Like, Adam doesn't have these identity issues because it's all clear. He has such clarity about his purpose, about his reality, about himself. Whereas if you do that with a living person, the same way that we do that for 7 seasons with Buffy herself, you can really play with the dichotomy of human and demon and the fact that they are mixed, not allowing for one or the other to exist on its own. And that's what Buffy's all about. And so we can have Riley slowly being turned into more and more of a monster, but having Maggie Walsh like, oh, it's okay, it's just physical. And then these changes that Riley goes through with his drug withdrawal, we can attribute to this demon essence creeping in and taking over his being, right? And so what we can do there is, sure, we can unleash Adam. We can let Adam be, but he doesn't have to carry as much weight as he's supposed to, because in the Season 4 as it stands itself, he's supposed to carry all of this weight that he just doesn't, because we don't know him. We didn't know him as a living person, and therefore we cannot feel real empathy or sympathy for his situation. Whereas with Riley, if we know him as a person, and then we get to know him as a person who is going through this change, and seeing this change be very, very scary and real, that's a better story. We can go on the journey with him, we can empathize with him, and instead of having Adam kill Maggie Walsh, we can have Riley do that, and it means more because he understands that she's the bad guy and she's turning him into a monster. And you can still hit all of the same beats. We can still have Riley not know that, just like Adam, he has a chip in him. We can still have him cut that chip out of himself, but he can do it with the Polgara thingamabob in his arm, and then he can literally chop off his arm. He can disassociate himself with this demon part of him. And in that way, when we get into season 5 Riley, and season 5 Riley feeling like he is, you know, basically impotent, that he doesn't contribute to not only Buffy's spiritual and emotional life, but that he can no longer contribute to the fight, that would make sense because he doesn't have a hand. You feel me? Like, it would make all of his feelings of insecurity and all of his feelings of not belonging in Buffy's world that much more real and significant and physical, and we can have a physical thing that is pulling him back from the fight. And you could make Forrest throughout season 4. Forrest is such a whiny little bitch, and he comes across as really annoying, and I feel like we're supposed to be sad when he dies, but we're really not. But you could have Forrest, and you could take him 2 different ways. You could have it so that as Riley becomes more and more like up in the air, like is he this or is he that, you could have him pull away from Riley and distrust Riley, or you could have Forrest be very, very jealous of the transition that Riley is going through. He wanted to be the one chosen by Professor Walsh, but here's Riley, and he's the golden boy, you know, Maggie Walsh's favorite. And by giving Forrest something that makes him jealous of Riley, that isn't about his disdain for Buffy, it would be good for that character because he really does need something other than just being an ass because of Buffy. There's this whole thing, you could take that Forrest is like secretly in love with Riley or whatever, but if you make Riley's transition and his evolution something that Forrest really wants, so that by the end of season 4, when Forrest does die, we can care about that, and when he becomes this Adam-like creature, we can there have Riley realize that this is where he will end up. He will be this monster just like Forrest, and Forrest wanted it really badly, and for Riley, it's just something that happened to him. He didn't have any control. I mean, you could write it in that basically Riley signed a waiver or whatever that would make the initiative responsible for his medical needs, and so this project situation that they're working on in the initiative, they would, you know, experiment on Riley because he's signed his life away to them. That's a really interesting way to go with Riley, and so by the time he gets to where we need him to get as far as like ripping out this chip in him, it means something more, and it's more character driven instead of plot driven. Giving Riley something internal to deal with that isn't just, oh, I can't be a soldier if I'm hanging out with the Slayer, and I can't be moral if I'm hanging out with the Initiative. That's all well and good, but it doesn't work. It doesn't make Riley any more interesting. If we have him live in Buffy's world to such an extent that he's almost walking in her shoes, it's just better for the character. And so by the time that he decides to leave, it's because he is, or at least feels, inadequate. And you can still have that conversation with Buffy. You know, just because you lost your hand doesn't mean I don't love you. I've given you every part of me. And you can still, at the end of season 4, have his love for Buffy be the crux of it, be the thing that gives him the ability to overcome this programming and this demon essence that's creeping into him. It all would work a lot better if we just kind of turned Riley into Adam. And it would make sense. Keep Maggie Walsh around, have her keep experimenting on Riley, turning him into this monster that may or may not be a monster, and that's part of the identity question that Season 4 presents us with. And you've just got a better story, and you've got a better character because you have a character we can care about. The problem with Adam as a villain is we cannot care about him. It's okay if we can't care about him if he is a secondary villain. That's fine. Have him be the monster in the closet that gets unleashed at the end. We can totally do that, but in the meantime we can have Riley exploring and dealing with this underlying identity issue, this underlying presence that he cannot understand and certainly cannot explain. So like I said, hindsight's 20/20, and there's no way to really go back and fix Season 4, but if you were going to, I feel like this is where you would start. Start by making Riley essentially an Adam-like monster, but alive, and what implications that has for the being that's having to wrestle with all of that, which again, directly would mirror Buffy's own wrestling with her own identity issues and the fact that she herself cannot escape the demon essence within her. She can't just cut off her hand and be done with it. She will always be this slayer, and the fact that Riley has a choice in the matter, at that point it comes down to choice, and if Riley has the choice to cut off his arm and not be this thing, and cut out this chip and not be this thing, it further underlines the fact that Buffy does not have this choice, that Riley can walk away from this fight, and Buffy can never do that. She can never stop being who she is. Riley as a human and as a man on some levels, especially in the feminist telling of the story, Riley has more choices and more agency over his life than does Buffy, and that can be the thing that really drives a wedge between them.
Okay, that story makes a lot more sense now.
So, you know, again, hindsight's 20/20, and we can't make this reality, but I would love for this to be the story of Season 4. So let me know in the comment section below how you would fix Season 4. Let me know if you think it's a good idea to basically turn Riley into Adam, and what do you think the other implications of that could and would be? Do you think it's a bad idea? If you do, that's fine. I think it's fucking great, because, hello, I'm sitting in front of this webcam making this video. But anyway, Planet Earth, that's pretty much all I've got for today. I've been thinking about this for about 2 weeks, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I will be getting into my predictions for the upcoming issues of the Buffyverse Season 11 books, but before I get into that, I'm going to do my predictions on what's going to go on with Faith. I got some comments in my Buffy 11 number 5 review that had to do with Faith and what I think they're going to do with that, and so I want to tackle her, and then I'll get into my predictions for the actual upcoming issues. So have yourself a great day today. I hope you're having a great 2017 so far, everybody. You can come right back here to the Buffington Post anytime for Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Buffyverse discussions on the other Slayers, and more. Have a great one. We'll see you next time. Bye.
A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man. Better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
My BFF.
Joe? 730.